Welcome back to our discussion on the nature of a problem. We are going to look at a performance specification where there is an upper specification limit given by USL and a lower specification limit given by LSL. We will project these specification limits down to illustrate different cases of what constitutes a problem. First, let's consider the bandwidth of a process, the spread of the process. For example number 1, we will say that the spread exists within this boundary, its center condition, center line, and here is the specification target called T. Thus, we can see that there is a deviation or gap difference between the center of our process and the target specification. If that distribution was to shift to the left, if our capability was to shift left at another time, time 2, we would have a new centering condition, which we would have a new gap. So over time, as a process shifts and drifts over time, the difference between the expected value, the target, and the observed, the center of the process, we would like to see that gap or delta equal to 0. That would be perfection. If we can retain that difference within a certain boundary, that would be considered acceptable performance for the average. Now, on the other hand, we could be centered, but have the case where we have too much spread. For the illustrated example, between cases 3 and 4, we've seen that our process has spread out over time even though it has remained centered. Thus, we can look at our process and say that we can have a problem with centering, upper spec limit, lower spec limit, where here is the process capability and it is shifting to the right and shifting to the left over time. We can also have a problem, upper spec limit, lower spec limit, centered, with spread as the distribution spreads out over time. We can have a third condition where there is not only a change in centering, but there is a change in spread as well. Thus, these would be the types of problems that we encounter in Six Sigma work. Again, our goal is to narrow the process distribution capability bandwidth as much as possible and bring it over time on center. Now we have a better understanding of what we would call a process problem.